The Chesapeake Bay is that great horn of plenty where dozens and dozens of species of fish spawn every year. And in 1963, Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel was opened for traffic, and it consists of 6,000 individual pilings and 2 tunnels that go underneath the Chesapeake Bay itself, and they're anchored by 4 islands, which are giant piles of rock. And with weather permitting, you can catch a fish there almost any day of the year. Now, let's go fishing. Black drums show up in the Chesapeake Bay whenever the dogwood tree blossoms. This is usually in late April, with the peak season for black drum in mid-May. They can be caught around all 4 of the islands into August, but their appearance slows down definitely from June to August. Now, black drum represents one of the very few species where anglers in a very small boat have a good chance of catching a fish over 50 pounds within sight of shore. While a few of these big boys are destined for the table, most are caught and released for the pure joy of catching a big fish. We use American Littoral Society tags to help learn more about black drum. After accurately measuring the length and the girth, not the weight, we hope that whomever recaptures these fish also records the length and the girth as well as the location that they were recaptured. This adds knowledge as to the growth rate and the migratory patterns of these species. After Captain Jim Jenneret anchored the Buccaneer a short distance west of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, we were soon busy catching. Now, Captain Wayne Seymour said there's no way to finesse these big boys. You simply have to overpower them and horse them to the boat. Now, a big, strong net is the key to boating these fish. Now, removing that handle prevents bending it while trying to use the handle to lift a fish. And 2 or more sets of hands on a net itself is much better for the fish as well as your back. A little bigger.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh. Ready?
Got it? Not yet.
All right, there we go. Got him there. Woo. Are rough, cold water fish, and they give us great sport all around the 4th islands of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, as well as in open water, as huge schools migrate out of the Chesapeake Bay during October, November, and December. Of course, we have a spring season, and it's good too, but the big boys and girls really get hungry as the water cools. Now, night fishing around the islands, drifting live eels, produces 40 to 50 pound fish, but it's a lot more difficult to photograph in the dark. Now, we start with the 3 B's. We look for boats, birds, or bridges to start fishing, in that order. A tightly packed group of boats can only mean one thing. They've already located a school of stripers. But if we see a beehive of gulls actively working, we know that they're going to be working over some feeding school. If large birds such as pelicans and gannets are diving, it usually indicates a school of larger fish. Now you could drift and cast lures into the school, but we like to slow troll around the edge of the school. Now we slow troll at under 3 knots, and we put out 6 or more lines. Now once we're in the school, usually 2 or 3 rods is really all we can manage. Now there are a couple of old sayings, and one of those is that big fish go for big baits. But then the other one is also equally effective and honest, and that is that elephants eat peanuts. Now, we usually pull the bigger baits in open waters, and we use the smaller bucktails when we're fishing right along the Chesapeake Bay Bridge tunnel itself. You're a pretty fish. Let me measure for you, George. I'll tell you if it's a size. Whether we are trout or flounder fishing in the heat of summer, or blue fishing or striper fishing in the dead of winter, there's always something that you can fish for in the Chesapeake Bay. The Chesapeake Bay Bridge tunnel merely adds structure and attracts the fish year-round. So come and try it sometime, right here in the Chesapeake Bay.